I'm just going to read this little part. I was studying mercy and justice because those are the things that the world was founded upon when God created the earth, or the, yeah, he had to first create repentance, or the ability of repentance, and then it's just founded on judgment or justice and mercy. And when I was studying justice and mercy, that there was a section upon the rainbow, and it was talking about a sign and the covenant. But this part is what is important, because so many people do not understand, because we don't use this word. I started using it more because I'm studying a lot. But when you say covenant, people don't understand it because it's not a word that we use in relation to things that we're talking about, and we really should. Because God put the rainbow in the sky as a sign, as a token, as a mark of the covenant which he had between Noah and his family, and even the animals of the earth. But this is so true, that every visible object, this is the bow, but there's so many things, that is set before two parties, because it's two parties that come into agreement with something, to remind them of a matter that they have vowed between them, is called a sign. And every agreement is called a covenant. So when you come into covenant with God, you're agreeing with him upon his terms. Just like the children of Israel in Egypt, when they came into covenant with God, there was a mark, a sign of that covenant agreement. And it was the Passover Lamb covenant agreement. It was the blood of the lamb and the words that went with that. Because prior to the children receiving the 10 commandments, which are the covenant words, which are the covenant, they told Moses, all that he says we will do. That is prior to them getting the commandments. So I just want to point out, it's a token, it's a mark, it's a sign. And just as the word says, there's no new thing under the sun. That which has been will be. In the end, there's going to be a mark and a sign put upon either the believer of God or the believer of the beast. And in that, people don't realize that the mark and the number and everything is the sign of them being in covenant with the beast. You're either in covenant with God or you're in covenant with the beast. So it's agreement. A covenant is an agreement between two parties, and it is legal and it is binding. It's not just in the physical realm, it is in the spiritual realm. And everything, any sign, mark, or token, it is a visible reminder between the two parties of that which they agreed upon. And, Messiah says, I am the Aleph and the Tav. Which means beginning and end. Yes, but it means covenant. Because when the Aleph and Tav come together, they're the strength of the covenant, the strengthening of the covenant. He is the strength of the covenant. He is the covenant in his flesh. He is the words of that covenant, and he is the sign, the mark of that covenant. And it's an agreement called a covenant. Every covenant has terms that they agree upon. And that is the blood of the Lamb and the word of the testimony. The testimony is the covenant words. Just as I've gone over in other videos where I've pointed out, and I'll look it up. This is Deuteronomy 4:13. And he declared unto you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform, even the 10 commandments, and he wrote them upon 2 tables of stone. And there's various verses and various translations, but it all points to the covenant being the words, and the blood mark is the sign. And when you read throughout the Old Testament, when it's talking about the ark, it's called the Ark of the Covenant. Really what it is the ark is the container and the seat of God, and that God had Moses and Aaron put the covenant words inside that. It's called the Ark of the Testimony, and it's called the Ark of the Covenant, but in many places it's called the Ark of the Testimony. So the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. I was trying to think if there was something else I wanted to add to this. Okay, a covenant is a solemn and binding agreement between 2 or more parties. It's often instituted through a sacrifice, and it is. Through God's covenant and through the enemy's covenant. There is a sacrifice, and people don't, and they think, oh, well, Old Testament, old days, that's old stuff. No, it's the same thing these days, and it's accomplished in the same way. It's through our free will offerings, and our body being a living sacrifice. In another video I had said that, where there's sacrifices, and where there's free will offerings, a temple is created. In our flesh, especially these days, when there is a sacrifice made, a temple is created, an altar is set up, God puts his name upon us, and the same with the enemy. Any sacrifice made to the enemy, there's an altar set up in the person. They become the temple of Satan, and they start serving him, just as we serve our God. I'm probably going to come back to this, but I really found this interesting because it breaks it down in such elementary form, understandable form, that, the mark, a sign, a token, every visible object that is set before 2 parties to remind them of a matter that they have vowed between them is called a sign. It's called a mark. And every agreement is called a covenant.